Another 49ers update from French Polynesia. Moved on to the island of Letaha. 49ers have hired a new cornerbacks coach. According to Matt Zenitz, it is Ray Brown. Most recently at Boston College, at Washington State before that. He's going to specialize in coaching the corners, which is another indication that Brandon Staley is going to be out the door. That had been expected, though. Staley might be the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints under Kellen Moore. But Ray Brown should not be confused with former 49ers guard Ray Brown, who was with the team from 96 to 2001. They decided they needed a little bit more beef up front, so they picked up the 320-pound Brown. He actually made the Pro Bowl in his age 40 season, his last year with the 49ers in 2001, one of the oldest players ever to make the Pro Bowl. This is a different Ray Brown, and he's going to be working under Daniel Bullocks, who I think is going to remain on the 49ers staff. He's the DB coach. Ray Brown is simply the cornerbacks coach. Other piece of news is that Josh Williams, who's the 49ers director of scouting and football operations, he's one of the 5 finalists, second interviews for the Jacksonville Jaguars GM job. Another candidate there is the interim GM Ethan Waugh, who also used to be with the 49ers. But Josh Williams, if Jacksonville does hire him, 49ers would pick up 2 third-round comp picks. He's a valuable member of their front office, has been with San Francisco for 14 years. Finance background, actually helps out in some contract negotiations on top of the scouting. So we'll see how Josh Williams does in that second interview, but the 49ers would be in line to pick up 2 more comp picks. So new cornerbacks coach under Robert Saleh and under Daniel Bullocks, who we presume is staying as the DB coach. Potentially 2 new third-round draft picks for the 49ers, and this is all on top of 3 new coordinators. Back to Morea, where I talked about the 3 new coordinators earlier today. The 49ers will have 3 new coordinators, one for each phase of the game in 2025, and the importance of this cannot be overstated. Obviously, the special teams and the defense were both terrible last year. In fact, this was funny. Saw that LaShawn McCoy tweeted about sitting at dinner with Fred Warner at a Super Bowl event, and LaShawn asked Fred, what was wrong with your defense this past year? And Fred Warner told him that the 49ers defense was really, really bad. Straight up told him. Obviously, Fred Warner could not speak so candidly during the course of the regular season, but we all saw it, especially at the end. They tumbled down. I use the EPA rankings because those are going to be the most accurate reflection of efficiency. They tumbled down to number 26 from number 10. I mean, 2 straight misses for Kyle Shanahan on the coordinator front. I don't care who you have as talent. If your coordinators are overmatched in this league, it's going to be bad. And Nick Sorensen's defense just was not up to par when it came to making it adjustments or going toe-to-toe in game plans with some of the best offensive minds in the league. So Kyle Shanahan made it a big-time point to go get Robert Saleh. During Nick Bosa's exit interview, Kyle Shanahan said, you know what, I'm excited. I'm going to go get Robert Saleh. I've been stressing out about this defense for 2 seasons too long, ever since DeMeco Ryans left. Steve Wilks called the cover 0 blitz with like 18 seconds left in the first half against Minnesota in 2023, led to a Jordan Addison touchdown. That frustrated the hell out of Kyle Shanahan, publicly rebuked Steve Wilks, and then he yanked Steve Wilks down out of the booth onto the field because he needed more energy. Everything was going bad in 2023, but it went even worse in 2024 after he fired Steve Wilks. Nick Sorensen, this should tell you a lot. They weren't willing to promote him after DeMeco Ryans left, even though he was on staff. That meant that they didn't think that he was ready for the job. After the Steve Wilks experiment failed, they had to promote Nick Sorensen because all the good defensive coordinator candidates were off the market. You could say that Kyle Shanahan should have gone Vic Fangio in 2023, and you probably would be right, but he didn't want to stray away from a scheme that has worked so well for the 49ers. Fangio, obviously, a 3-4 guy, quarters guy. 49ers are 4-3, cover 3, and I think hindsight's 2020. So the 49ers didn't do that. They stuck with the scheme. They forced Steve Wilks to adapt to it, and I don't think Vic Fangio wanted to. I think that's where the disconnect was between those 2 defensive coordinators in the search. Either way, the 49ers are now back at, I don't want to say square one, but they're back at the original territory of their defense with Robert Saleh returning to be the defensive coordinator. And there was a reason that Kyle Shanahan was so excited to get Saleh back on board. And I mean, there was some drama that went behind this. The 49ers obviously did not sleep easily for a couple weeks while Robert Saleh was waiting for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but eventually they were able to get their man, Robert Saleh, back in the building. As far as special teams go, Brant Boyer, special teams coordinator for the 49ers, has directed a couple of top 5, even one top 3 unit for the Jets. I will say though, and this has been the consistent theme for me for months, Kyle Shanahan's got to care more about that special teams unit. Kyle Shanahan has to authorize a fake punt every once in a while, maybe some trickery on a return. Anything to let the roster know that special teams is important. It's the only way that the 49ers are going to get better results. Brian Schneider was a good coordinator with Seattle. He obviously didn't have good results with the 49ers, but they had to make a move there. I think when you look at the roster as a whole, the 49ers have actually dedicated significant resources to special teams. George Odom's going to be back. Talked about him at that safety position. He's not a great safety, but George Odom is a really good special teams player. 2 years ago, he actually led the entire league in special teams tackles. I get it. The 49ers were kicking off a lot because the offense was number 1 in the league, so he had a lot of opportunities. But I think all special teams coaches around the NFL recognize George Odom as somebody that you want to have on that unit. He's been a special teams all-pro. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, we'll see if they bring him back as the 5th linebacker, but he's been a valuable special teams player. They also have invested those draft picks in kicker and punter with Jake Moody and Mitch Wishnowsky. Now you can argue that the draft picks they invested, specifically in the players that they invested, have not been good ones. Obviously, Wishnowsky was hurt to end last season, and Jake Moody did not perform after he was injured to end last season, but the front office level investment on special teams has been there. They've also changed coordinators now twice under Kyle Shanahan, from Richard Hightower to Brian Schneider and now to Brant Boyer. But I think that the fact that they have not called a single fake punt over the course of, 8 seasons now with Kyle Shanahan is a massive red flag. There was one that they ran a couple years ago, but it was because Mitch Wishnowsky improvised. It wasn't actually a fake punt that the 49ers called. So you absolutely have to show that special teams is something that could grab a victory instead of just something that is avoiding defeat. You can't play with a loser mentality on special teams. You have to play with that winning mentality. Finally, they haven't announced this yet, but I would expect when the 49ers drop the entire coaching staff that Klay Kubiak is going to be the offensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan revealed this to me. I asked Kyle about it at the end of season press conference. And I think the question was about what he learned from Klay Kubiak calling plays in that last game and in the preseason, because he let Klay do that. And he said that Klay has earned that promotion to offensive coordinator. And that doesn't mean he's going to call plays in moving into the future. I think it's extremely important for your head coach to call plays for continuity reasons. You're seeing it with the Detroit Lions. The brain drain there is going to be real, or even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost Liam Cohn to the Jags. That obviously was very related to the 49ers' pursuit of Robert Saleh. If your head coach does not call plays, your entire offensive power structure collapses every single time there's a promotion of your offensive coordinator. The head coach obviously can't go any higher. That's the top coaching position that there is. So Kyle Shanahan calling plays is inherently valuable to the 49ers' power structure. He's got to do a better job of it next year. And I think that doing a better job calling plays for Kyle Shanahan has always started with him having a trusted lieutenant, somebody that gives him necessary pushback or just the necessary big picture view. You can't run the ball 16 straight times down the stretch against the Detroit Lions when balanced offense has been working before and then expect the same good results to happen. You get lost in the weeds, and Kyle Shanahan has gotten lost in the weeds. The fact that Klay Kubiak has now, I would assume, earned the offensive coordinator title, because Kyle Shanahan said he's going to get it. I would assume that this is going to become official when the 49ers drop the official coaching staff list via email or via press release. The fact that Klay Kubiak has earned that title in Kyle Shanahan's mind, it's the same level of position as Mike McDaniel had before he went to the Dolphins. I think that in and of itself helps the 49ers offense have the regulator that Kyle Shanahan needs to ensure that they stay balanced and that they stay very cognizant of the big picture play calling tendencies that need to happen. You cannot let Kyle Shanahan get lost in the weeds. There's too much other stuff going on that he's keeping track of as the head coach. He could still call plays. That's not the issue. He's one of the more talented play callers that we've seen, but he does have to have a voice, a very trusted lieutenant's voice, to allow this offense to keep itself honest and operate at the highest levels possible. So that's Klay Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator. 49ers have a new defensive coordinator, the familiar face in Robert Saleh. I always look at Vic Fangio and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the 49ers might have missed out on Fangio in 2023. What did he bring Philadelphia? A four-man rush. They didn't blitz at all in the Super Bowl. And zone coverage. I know it was quarters, cover four coverage for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won that Super Bowl, but it's all the same, in my opinion. It's schematically different, but the philosophy, Robert Saleh is going to bring a four-man rush. He's not going to blitz a lot, and he's going to bring quality zone coverage for the 49ers, mainly through the cover three. We'll see who else they bring in staff-wise, see if they can mix in some quarters cover four, just like they did in 2019. But the defense can go back to quality basics. The quality has been present in diminishing qualities over the course, in diminishing quantities over the course of the past two seasons. And on special teams, well, yeah, they're going to have a quality coordinator who's orchestrated good return games in Brant Boyer, but they've got to give him that support. Those are the major staff changes that are going to be make or break effect on the roster that the 49ers are building. No matter how good this roster is, no matter how well the 49ers spruce it up, they have to push the right buttons at coordinator. And I think that the fact that they have aggressively pushed buttons that look like they're good buttons to push so far this offseason is a big arrow up for San Francisco. This is the island of Moorea, by the way, known as the most beautiful island in the world. You saw some of the turquoise waters, tropical side of this island, but one thing that makes it so beautiful is the fact that the elevation change is so drastic. It's only about a 30-minute ferry ride from the island of Tahiti, which is the main island of French Polynesia. But you go to Moorea and all of a sudden things get a whole lot more remote and you get these jagged mountain peaks. It's a former volcano. So it erupted in the past, kind of like the 49ers. They've been a dormant volcano for a while. And they erupt again, we'll see. But that coaching staff, a very, very big part of what San Francisco is going to do. 3 new coordinators in 2025.